Hey guys, this is Nick Christopher from Mob Tales. Hope you guys are doing well. I know we've been a little bit, you know, absent for a bit, but we were preparing for a very special show with a really interesting individual. His name is Lewis Kasman. He was the adopted son of John Gotti Sr., and he has a real interesting life story that he's going to share with us. Um, who knows if we're going to part two or not? But Louis, thank you very much for coming on the show. We definitely appreciate it.
Of course, of course. My pleasure.
Well, Louis, I'm going to just for people who don't are not very familiar with you, um, if you can give us a little bit of a background of your upbringing and how this kind of life, how you were able to get into this kind of life,
Mhm.
being that you weren't, Italian, you were not from that kind of, you know,
Mhm.
world, so to speak. Give us a little bit of a breakdown of your upbringing and how that happened.
Okay. So I start my journey on Staten Island, and I'm living in Staten Island as a kid. From Staten Island, we moved to Long Island to a town called Merrick. And my immediate next door neighbor is Michael Coiro, the famous or infamous mob lawyer.
Hmm.
Represents Jimmy Burke, Henry Hill, Herbert Sperling, Mark Ryder, Gene Gotti, John Gotti, Frankie Altamari, Dom Cataldo, every family, every prominent wise guy, Mike Coiro represented. Now, my immediate next door neighbor in Merrick. So Mike has no children, and my whole life, I'm looking for a father. I come from a broken home. So Mike and I and his wife become very tight. So every weekend at the house, there's another wise guy. And I became very enthralled by them, you know. And so I meet John through Mike Coiro. And that's how my journey begins.
And
And
how old were you around this time?
I want to say I was around 22 at this time,
So
approximately.
you graduated from college at that time?
Yes, I was done with school, or just finishing up school. And yeah, and yeah, around that time of life, correct.
And where did you attend?
I went to St. John's University.
Oh, so did I. Okay.
Mhm.
And what was your major at the time?
Business administration.
That explains a lot. Okay.
Mhm.
That explains your expertise in what came in the future, rather.
Exactly.
Um, so when your first impression of meeting John Sr. at that age, of course, what was your first impression? How did he come off to you?
Well, I was very impressionable because, like I said, I always had this, always looking for a father. And, he had that image I like, the power, he was very attentive to me. And back then he wasn't the boss. He was a
Mhm.
captain back then, or an acting captain. So we just, one thing led to another, and his son was run over on the moped, and me and him just had that emotional connection right away. And then it's
Oh,
almost like my career path was his career path, or his career path became my career path, however you want to look
yeah,
at it.
yeah, pretty much. Um, well, being that the case, did you become familiar with John Jr. at that time as well?
Yes.
Now
Obviously
was
that was his son.
now
And
was there any type of jealousy there because of the
well,
attentiveness he gave to you?
yeah, there was that jealousy, but John Jr. and I believed at the time were good friends and we were close. I guess I was wrong, but See, John had that whole Machiavellian thing going on, playing one against the other. So he would want me to be close with his son, and then he wouldn't want me to be close with his son. It's because John wasn't really close with his son or his children until after the fact. Because John was always either in jail or running around, never home. So the kids, they didn't have that kind of homogenous relationship of closeness and that attentive dad. I basically got all his attention that his kids wanted.
That's interesting you say that because what most people know in the public, they are under the impression that Victoria, for example, my father was always with us. He was always there for me, and
That's a bunch of
all this
crap.
other stuff.
Mhm.
Now, where I mean, what is truth and what is you know,
Well,
what
I'm
do we
going to
need to
tell you,
really,
Vi-
what do we need to
Vi-
believe?
Vicky and Angel wanted his affection and wanted his attention, and he just wasn't there. He was just, you know, the Castellano hit was in his mind. All this stuff was going on. He just wasn't there. He wasn't available to them. And so that wasn't working for them. He he became a better father after he became the boss and after he became incarcerated, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
When he
yeah.
was when he was incarcerated, him and Junior got closer. And so did he with the kids. He always had issues with them. John would nitpick at a lot of things. Oh, I didn't get the Christmas card. I didn't get this. But you got to understand, this is a guy that was locked up 24/7 in a door, in a kennel, basically. So every little
Mhm.
thing bothered him, and rightfully so. He had every right to, be, have that kind of a personality. But like I said, they got closer to him through his incarceration. But when he was on the street, nah, they would go to dinner, we would go to dinner, and he just wasn't available, emotionally on that level. Yeah.
Oh, so they depict him in a different light. They depict him as a
Well,
much.
that's what they dreamed. That's what they wanted. And I can sympathize and I can understand that. But here you have me and they want to be where I am and they want to have what I have. So,
Okay, now for people to understand this, now we got his blood children. Even though from what I understand, Angel's not really his daughter, from what I heard.
you know,
Uh,
whether she is or she's not, she's his daughter. If you get what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
Well,
I don't, if somebody knows that, they had to be there and nobody was there. So
uh,
people could surmise, people could say what they want. I'm not going to get into that. For all practical purposes, that was his daughter, and I'll tell you the truth, she was a good daughter. She is a good
oh
daughter,
no, from what I understand, yeah, she was very devoted.
and well, she lived right across the street from him in Howard Beach, so
Mhm.
Angel was there all the time from when he was on the street. Remember, Vicky was out of the house then, and Angel's two kids were very close to John, the two grandchildren that they were. Angel's daughter and son.
Now,
Uh,
from what you from what your explanation is, as we already know that you were quote unquote the adopted son of John Senior. Um, being that the case, compared to his blood children, that must have caused a little bit of a friction between you and them. I would assume.
It did. They kept it quiet for a while. They kept it. It came out. I mean, picture, he only wanted me to take care of him. He only wanted me with the funeral. I delivered the eulogy. No one else did. Only
I
me.
remember. I was there.
Oh, okay. So you know.
Yeah. No, but being that's a thing that's now the guy's on the street now. his crews. Um, I'm not sure if you were around. I think if you were around when Frank DeChico was before he was killed,
Mhm.
or any of the other guys like Joe Piney or
Mhm.
any of the other guys, Gene, even Gene, for example, or Peter. Um, at the time, I'm assuming they treated you with the same respect.
Of course. What were their options? You know, they
No,
might have been
that's
jealous or they might have been whatever. But remember, they were happy that there was someone to, you need someone to take care of a boss or a captain, especially they knew where he was going. Everybody knew he was going to be the boss. It was a question of when,
mm.
you know. So, and then once, of course, he became the boss, they were glad they didn't have to be bothered with it. Jeannie, of course, was incarcerated. They couldn't handle him. They weren't going to deal with him. They couldn't, not that they had a choice, but they couldn't handle him.
So the only one who was really able to keep his reins on him was Neil before he passed.
You know, correct.
So, in your opinion, before we get into anything deeper, a lot of people say that John was a little too flamboyant, that he loved the spotlight too much, and that's what destroyed him or destroyed the mob in general.
Well,
Um, how do you look at
I
that?
don't buy into that because let me tell you why. The 80s, John was the mob. Okay. Every family, maid guys, associates, captains, bosses, all wanted to be around John from every family. Okay. So that was what the life was. Yeah. Was he out there? Yeah. But that's what it was. And the media loved that. And the media soaked it up. And the media kept going with that persona. Do you know
Well,
what I'm
that's the
saying?
thing. Now, do you think that was the right thing when that type of life is supposed to be secret? You know,
Well, before he even became the boss, it wasn't a secret anymore. There was no more
and
secret life.
I believe that too.
I mean, there wasn't any secret life. Paul used to have everybody come to the house on Staten Island. Paul was hanging out with Frank Perdue from Purdue Chicken.
Yeah,
What was secret about that?
right. Well,
You know,
Paul was a bit of
everybody had their own way, you know.
right. Yeah.
Paul looked
Well,
down on everybody. Paul didn't want to talk to associates. Paul didn't want to talk to mate guys. Paul wouldn't even meet with all his captains. Paul wasn't a street guy. My biggest argument always with John was everyone can't approach you. You got to stop. John was available to anybody when he was around the club. A boss doesn't do that, but that's what he was. He never changed that way. Someone came to him with a good story. Oh, Lewis, give the guy 5,000. Half the time, if he had said give him 10, I would give him five. But this is how John was. He was just a good-natured man and a killer and a tough guy. But his crew and people in his family, he helped. He took care of them. You know,
so in other words, he was generous.
very generous to a fault. I used to tell him all the time, "Do you hate money? What is it with you and money?" That's what he was. He was very generous to a fault.
Well, in a reference to, let's say, in sense of generosity, I'm not sure if it really fits, but he did have a gambling issue. I mean, he would gamble like crazy, and he would
Gamble.
lose 20,000 at a clip,
How much? How
like
about on
20
how about
grand.
on Monday? We sometimes owe 200,000.
I know, I'm just being nice.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, if that was his vice. He didn't drink, he didn't drug, he wasn't a crazy womanizer. Liked his women, but he wasn't a womanizer like a lot of these guys are womanizers. He was respectful that way, in my opinion. Others might have other things to say. I don't buy into it. But yeah, he liked his gambling, loved it.
Yeah, no kidding. Um, Now, your role in that life, in his life, on the street level, that is, um, what did John expect the most from you, or did he expect anything from
My role was to be that fresh air when you open the window, because guys would not be, they wouldn't tell him anything. They wouldn't tell him the truth. They would just kiss his ass. So I, in a respectful way, would try and make him aware and explain things to him in a different way. You know, a lot of guys wouldn't do that. They were that they used grown men I used to see shake from him, you know. So I was that person, I would try and keep it as level as I could, you
So
know.
he allowed you to speak to him black and white. There was
Oh
no
yeah.
gray.
Oh yeah. When we were one on one, when we were in company or we were together, I afforded him everything that he deserved. He was the boss. But when I was alone with him, he would say to me, "So what do you think?" And I would tell him what I thought. Yeah, absolutely. That's what he wanted from me.
Now, where did you
He had as many bullshitters as you could find,
sure.
you know,
But where did John find this trust, the level of trust with you that he would allow you to?
over
Because most
time.
guys, like you said, most guys would be scared to say anything. That's
Mm.
what's on their mind.
Over time, me and him had that emotional connection. It happened over time. Trust is earned over time. That's what took place with that situation.
Now, how did you? Now, like you said, you explained what your role was, and now on the earning level of helping the family, what was your part in that? Or what did John, like I said earlier, expect from you?
Meaning what?
Well, instead of it's earning for the family in some capacity.
My relationship was with John Gotti, not the Gambino family.
Uh-huh. Okay,
And there's a distinction.
of
I
course.
wasn't a soldier. I was directly with the boss of the Gambino family, and nobody is with a boss. When you're a boss, you have all your crews and all your captains. I was the only person directly with him, as that expression goes.
Right.
So he didn't need me to be in the life. He needed me outside the life.
So you were like the outside consigliere, so to speak.
Correct. You might say that.
You're
Right.
even better. You was a rabbi.
Correct. And I mean, I used to have captains and people coming to me, talk to him, tell him that I didn't, coming to me to curry favor for them on their behalf. You know, it was not an enviable role, I could tell you that. Although people would think it is, but it wasn't, you know,
Why would you say that then?
because you have to, I had to be available 24/7. It's emotionally draining, because I still was running businesses in the garment center for him and for me. And, his day started 1 o'clock in the afternoon. My day was over at 4 o'clock. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we were on
Yeah,
reverse schedules, couldn't shut the beeper off. Back then we were on beepers,
yeah, I remember.
you know. So if Jackie Knows wasn't beeping me, he was beeping me, you know.
Wow.
I get home 5, 6 o'clock. Come back in, let's have dinner. I
Now,
said no. I said no once. I was tired. He sent Jackie Knows and Mikey Scars to come collect me at the house. So Jackie says to me, we could do this one or two ways. Go upstairs and get dressed, or whatever you're gonna do, you're gonna do. You're going in the car right now because he's crazy. You got to come into the city now.
wow.
And,
So
I do the look back now, and it was an enviable position for wise guys to be looking at me, you know. Oh.
what was give us your impression of guys like Jackie the Nose and Mickey Scars? What was it like being around those guys, and what was your impression of them?
Well, Jackie and me were very close. And Mikey Scars, he was just a made guy. He was nobody then. And yeah, everybody was 100% respectful. I'm going to give you an expression. I had the king's ear. So how were they going to be?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, when you have the king's heir, that's it.
Mhm.
You know?
So basically, you earned a lot of respect from a lot of these, all the captains, basically, uh,
Well, they
if
had
not
it.
the whole family.
Of course, if they say, "Look, if John loves this guy's the real deal."
But the most interesting part is that you weren't Italian; you were Jewish, which
I'm partially my
part
grandfather.
right, part Italian.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I'm not sure if there was any type of, I don't know if any guys were like, ah, who's this guy? He's not even a, he never
They
whacked
were
anybody,
they were
you
all
know.
jealous
I'm sure.
because they're all jealous of each other. So why shouldn't they be jealous of me?
I guess you're right. You
Yeah.
know, um, if you could give us your thoughts on, I'm sure you saw the movie Gotti with Amon Asante.
I thought it was
Um,
good.
you thought that was pretty spot on?
Yeah, the best one that's around, I would say, is that one. I liked Armand Asante. I did not like John Travolta. He should have never played that role. He was a disaster.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, he was a disaster. And
Yeah,
that's why
Amon's actually good. I'm
he was
sorry.
great. Asante was great.
Yeah, he's actually a good friend of mine, and he was phenomenal in that movie.
Yeah.
I think he pretty much he depicted John, his mannerisms and everything pretty well.
As best as what,
As best to be
for the
expected.
time.
Yeah.
And who was the guy that played the Neil? What was his name again?
Oh, Anthony Quinn.
Anthony Quinn. He used to come to the trial all the time.
Yeah, I know. I know that.
Him,
You know.
Cindy Adams, the guy from Batman and Robin. A lot of
Hmm.
these guys used to come around.
And
Joe Black and the Americans.
oh, Jane Americans were always part of, always always involved with the guys back in the
Yeah.
day.
Well,
Um,
because he used to, John supported him. He couldn't make a living, Jay Black.
I think he performed at the El Carib for
He
John
did.
Jr.'s baptism. If I'm correct.
I don't know. You might be correct.
Yeah. Um,
I didn't have him at the wedding.
what was your take on Sammy?
Scumbag.
I mean, well, not so much now, but back then.
Even before that, he not a bad guy. Always.
Okay.
If that arrest doesn't come down, the biggest mistake John made is he didn't kill Gravano. If that arrest doesn't come down, Gravano was going. John was fed up with him already.
So it was so John was upset, I guess, upset with him because of the fact that he was, you know, like the saying goes in the movie, planting his flags all over the place.
All over the place. Everybody was with him. He's a thieving dog, just a bad guy. Uh,
How did he how did he treat you when you were on the
well, he
street with
treated me
him?
nice, but me and him didn't, he knew I didn't like him. He went to John to kill me.
You're kidding.
When they were in jail in the MCC, he said to John, I think we should kill Lewis and Tommy Gambino.
Wow. Now you worked with Tommy, right? Because he was involved in the garment industry.
Yeah, he ran the garment center.
Yeah, I know.
Lucchese's and the Gambinos ran the garment center.
Right. Because I remember Carlo, I think, put Tommy there, I believe, but
Well,
way
He
before.
did, but Tommy is married to Three Fingers Brown's daughter, Frances Lucchese.
Oh, Frank Lucchese, yeah.
Imagine that wedding,
Yeah,
Lucchese
really.
Gambino.
But being that this since 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 you changed, obviously, you decided to testify or to work with the government. I mean, I'm sure that was very difficult to do, and I'm sure very emotional. What
It was the worst.
what drove you to do that?
His son, of course, I had known that his son met with the government,
Yeah, he proffered, yes.
and that concerned me. And that was became a whole big problem. And the other part of that problem is that Junior, In Junior's basement, after the wedding, they found close to $400,000 with a list of all made
Good.
guys.
The wedding list. Yes, I remember.
Remember that? And what they gave and who's who and
Yeah,
who's that. And that was bad. And John went crazy. The father went crazy. He
I'm
called me
sure
up.
he did.
What is wrong with him? I don't know. And that was bad. And then he called me up. He says, you should, if they're gonna call you to testify, tell them that that's the wedding money. I said, John, I'm not going into the grand jury and lying. I did that already. I just did 7 months in Lewisburg for perjury. Not happening. So, but
Would, would you,
that was
would
terrible.
you, would you say that John Jr. was never really cut out for that life?
Oh, he loved the money. He was cut out for it. He loved the money. He just didn't like it. See, I think Junior got concerned when the father was very sick and was going to die because he didn't have his protection. And I don't blame him for that, but he didn't have to do the things he did. He hurt all of his father's friends. He hurt his father. He said his father put him on the shelf. His father never put him on the shelf. That's bullshit. You
But
know,
somebody did, didn't they?
after the fact, after the fact.
Right, after the
His
fact.
father never did, though.
But did John Cena really want his son in that life
Of
deep
course.
down?
Well, what was he going to do? He needed someone to run the family and collect the money. Pete didn't have
Yeah,
the brains.
but he sent him to military school first.
I don't know what the answer is. But Junior used to drive him crazy. I'll never forget it. Junior kept saying, I want to get made. I want to get made. He drove his father crazy to get made. And then at the wedding, and, got promoted to a captain. So it was just, everybody wants to blame John Sr. Wrong. Junior loved the life. He loved the
That's
power and he
interesting
loved the
because
money. When did he
see, a
stop
lot of
loving the money and the power? When?
that's interesting you say that because a lot of people get the impression that he never wanted a life,
That's
that his
that's
father wanted him in it.
he wanted in. I was there. I know. He wanted in.
But when he went to his father, that videotape that everybody saw, when he
That
visited his dad in prison, and he's like begging him to, I don't want to be in this anymore. I want to get out or something
that
like
was
that.
that was a setup. The father knew what he was going to do. That was planned.
Really?
Yes, that was planned. Do you think Junior would have
When,
went on? Junior used to shake from the father. You think he ever would have went on a visit and said those things to his father unless that wasn't planned? Especially he knew that was the last time he was going to see his father alive.
so you mean plan by what to gain what to accomplish what exactly?
Because they wanted to, if you listen to the tapes, you hear John say, my son's not the boss of anything. What is all that garbage in Marion? This whole
Right.
thing was, they concocted all this, all planned.
Interesting. Interesting. So, do you believe also that John Senior, when he developed throat cancer, a lot of people think they purposely poisoned him or got him, that this happened. This because John was always in good shape, fit, took care of himself, even in prison. Did
Yeah,
push-ups. He did took care of himself.
he did.
And when I remember when I saw the picture, I was like, whoa, that's like something wrong here. I thought
Well, he,
it
he,
shocked me.
let
He
me
looked
tell you,
terrible.
in Marion, the water is tainted in Marion, Illinois. They, back in the day, they buried the electric transformers in the ground. So all the water in Marion that he was drinking was tainted. And how I know that is because when I went on Larry King with the Attorney General, I showed him the report. I says, here's the report about your water. And when I used to go to Marion, although they never would let me go in, but I used to fly out there. He made him feel good, so I would fly out there. And I used to see the cops, the correction officers, all walk in with water. I'd say, why do you guys carry bottles of water? He says, the water's tainted here. Chemically, it's chemical water here.
Wow.
And John had head, neck, and throat cancer, squamous
Yeah.
cell, and they were giving him Tylenol.
So
That's,
basically, I mean, based on that fact, I'm surprised Vicky or Angel didn't sue him, sue the prison.
they wouldn't, he didn't want us to.
He didn't want us to?
No, he wouldn't
John,
let us.
really?
Mhm.
That's a shock. Wow, I'm surprised.
And when he was a Marion, until I put up a big stink about it and went to the Attorney General myself, they weren't giving him commissary because he wouldn't pay the fine.
Wow.
250,000. He says, don't pay it. And we never paid it. Till this day, it's not paid. That's the kind of guy he was. Listen, he knew he was going to die in jail. He used to tell me all the time, he says, Lewis, my time here is short. My time in there is long. Those were his words. My time on the street is short. My time in jail is long.
Well, he was right about that.
That's right.
He was
What other boss?
100% correct.
No boss wants to go do life in jail. He knew he was going to go do life in jail. He knew that was the end for him. Yeah.
And of course, obviously blames Sammy for that because
Well,
Sammy,
Sammy played a big role in it. Yeah. If that arrest doesn't come down, there's no Sammy. And then who put the bug in the Cirilli apartment? Who told them to go up there? Who knew he was in that apartment? Sammy knew. Joe the Cat knew because Joe the Cat owned that building. And
right.
John hates Joe the Cat, hated Joe the Cat.
So in other words, somebody dropped a dime, in other words.
100%.
So this wasn't the FBI being so smart.
No. I mean, they were smart because they broke all the rules. There were no laws, there was no rules back then. But someone had to drop a dime and tell them. Could it have been Sammy? Could it have been Joe Watts? Could it have been Joe the Cat? Who knows? We'll never know. But someone told them.
That's interesting news. Very interesting news.
Yeah,
But of course, everybody's under the impression that it was, you know, surveillance was incredible and these guys knew what they were doing and blah, blah, blah.
they did know what they were doing, but someone had to point them in the right direction. Because there's other apartments in that building. So they have to isolate that apartment.
That's true.
And then how do they get in the building?
Yeah,
Joe,
they're the key.
Joe the Cat owns that building. Joe the Cat goes to Paul to kill his son because his own son, owed him 200 grand and he wouldn't pay him back. So Joe the Cat wants to whack his own kid. Imagine over 200 grand, guy's a multi-millionaire.
That's pretty sad.
So John
Uh,
hated the guy. John had no respect for the guy.
Now, I'm sure this really um, I'm positive that this was a very emotional thing for John Sr. when Frank was killed. It's hard for me to believe that he put the hit on Frank Bavaro. I don't think John would do something like that. I don't think so.
I agree.
I think Sammy took it upon himself.
No, I don't think so. Others, not Sammy. No, others. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
You got a lot of people out there to please John or what they perceive as pleasing John.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, after that happened, when Frank Bavaro was taken out, did you did John show any kind of share anything with you about that? Like his was scared that it happened, it was in whatever, I don't know. But his reaction, if there was any.
He wasn't reactionary. He was in Florida at the time,
Right, yeah.
but
They say that he went there conveniently. That's what they say.
Well, his son had just, you know, to lose a child. I mean, I saw my own mother lose a child, so I know what it's like. From being on the not my own child, but I saw my mother lose a child. So you're out of your mind.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
No, so
Um, well, about your mom, when growing up, and then hanging out with Michael Corio and all these other people, I'm sure your mom knew who they were. I'm sure she wasn't naive. Um, was she worried about you even hanging out with these guys? Or did she say, "No, Louis, don't go there, don't whatever"? Was she
sometimes she
worried?
would, but she she never thought that this would be the outcome. If that's what you mean. But but he was very good to me, and you know, I wouldn't change anything. He was very, very good to me. The only thing I would change if I would know the treachery with his son and the games and the lies and the stories. But John created a lot of that himself, the father. He created a lot of that because of that whole Machiavellian thing.
Right. Well, since you've been out of that life for a while, um, what is your impression of the mob in general? I mean, do you think it's on its
Other
way out
than
pretty much?
other than John, well, it's a different day. Other than John Gotti, I don't even I don't even think about it. It's, you know, he our paths in life just crossed. That's how I look at it, you know.
So in other words, you're saying like after John, that type of life is not. It's,
No, I had absolutely zero interest. And they try to keep me around, Joe Corazzo. I had no interest.
well, I'm not meaning. I don't mean like you being
I had
involved
no
with it.
interest. I didn't want to be around those people. And John used to tell me, these people, they're all garbage. You don't need any of these people. Stay away from them. And they all stayed away from me until he died. Then they came out like animals. All about the money. You know that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So from what I'm gathering from what you're telling me, it seems like John Senior really didn't want you to be part of the violent side of the life.
And I
He wanted
wasn't.
you around for like advice, for opinions, for thoughts. He, lack of a better word, I'm not sure exactly. It seems like he really admired your way of thinking and your philosophy, so to speak. That he, you know,
And our friendship.
right, like he valued that. He didn't
A
want you
hundred
to get
percent.
dirty, so to speak.
100%. Yeah. And he wouldn't permit it. I wasn't looking for that, and he wouldn't permit it. Even if, I was unapproachable by anyone in the life from any family. And that everybody was talking about me. So
Well, that was my next question. If anybody did approach you, say, "Hey, Louis, we got this thing going on. You want to be involved?"
they would never, never. It never happened. So that's how I know never. And the one time, actually, I did someone a favor, and he found out about it, and I can't tell you what he did to that person.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So very protective, very protective.
If you were able to go back in time, back to that time, would there be anything that you would have hoped to have changed?
Yeah, I would have made him kill Sammy as quick as possible. Quick as possible, kill Sammy. I would have made him save more money. I would have took him on I would have took him out of New York more. And like that. If I had him out of New York more, we would have had a longer lifespan on the street.
Do you
because you see,
think if, like you said, if Sammy was taken out, do you think John would have lasted a lot longer?
oh yeah, 100%. And if he would have let Jeannie take a plea, if he would have let Jeannie take a plea to on that junk case,
Hmm.
be a different day. Because Jeannie would have killed Gravano. There would be no Gravano. There would have been no Gravano if Jeannie was still around. Gravano was a cancer. He was the kiss of death.
What was your impression about Peter? Because Peter wasn't really the smartest tool in the shed,
He was
but he took, when he took
a
over.
loyal idiot. That's all. And that's what John used to call him, a loyal idiot. No brains.
And a lot of people didn't really, I mean, I didn't really understand what Frank's, I think it was Frank's brother that we've seen on TV all the time, always talking, making,
Who
I
did
forgot
she,
his first name.
did
I'm
Chico?
sorry?
Did Chico?
Yeah.
Joe did Chico. He loved John. He was very loyal to John. And he used to, John gave him permission to speak out a little bit.
Yeah, that he did.
Yeah. That's the only reason he did. He used to come to trial all the time, though. He was a good guy, though. He wasn't he wasn't a
Yeah, I
bad.
mean, a lot of people don't really understand, didn't really know what his role was, if there was
He
any.
had no role. Just
Yeah.
John, a loyal guy. And I guess he was mad about his nephew, Frank.
Well, after the time when Frank, when talking about the Chico, when Frank got killed in that bomb, that
Well,
obviously the team.
That's when Sammy comes alive. Sammy becomes full blown right after the Chico gets blown up.
Well, from what I understand, John Cena was um, very hurt by that, like very emotional about it. Because I think he was close to Frank.
It was close to the Chico, yeah. Rough time. Well, and your own ability to look at everything and you realize how vulnerable you really could be, you know. But if they wanted John dead, these other families, they had plenty of years to get him dead. So,
Now, being what you just said is interesting. Being that the case, I'm shocked that nobody did, especially after he took out Paul.
because John had a big pair of balls and they knew, if you're going to kill the king, if you're going to go for the king, you better make sure you do it. You're not going to get a second shot.
But he did have a contract. There was a contract out on him.
I don't know if there was or there wasn't. Meanwhile, all I could tell you is this: wherever we would go, wherever he was, guys from every family would want to see him and be with him. So,
Well, he didn't.
everybody talks, but everybody's full of crap. Because guys from every crew and every family all over New York, tri-state area, all wanted to meet him and sit with him and have dinner with him. So,
Well, he did run the biggest, most powerful crime family in America.
yeah, and you got to understand too, all these guys are full of shit. Everybody's talking, they're killing this guy, they're killing that guy. They're not, you know. If they wanted him dead, believe me, they could have killed him. It
Well,
wasn't hard.
shit.
They knew where to find him. It was no secret where John was.
Well, that's true. Um, well, when it came to I think John wasn't really um, for this hit that happened with DB.
Mhm.
I think he wasn't really, from what I understand, from what I read or heard, he really wasn't very happy till after it happened.
What do you mean?
Well, with DB, when DB was killed,
Oh, because he was late for an appointment?
right? which is, I find it hard to believe that John would even do something that would, okay, a hit on, just
Well,
because somebody,
there were other issues that he had with DB.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Gravano hated DB.
Well, there's an explanation right there.
Right. Gravano hated everybody. That was Gravano's MO. Yeah.
Do you think Sammy wanted to be boss?
Of course. It would have came down to that, kill or be killed, 100%. I used to tell that to John all the time. You're killing him or he's killing you. So figure it out.
Wow. Well, it's not, after the time that you decided to, go the other way, um, I'm sure you got a lot of
John never knew.
pushback.
John never knew. John was gone by then.
Right. Well, I'm talking about like Junior and all them. I'm sure they came at you in all directions, I'm sure.
They did. They did. But Junior, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Junior's in no position to throw stones at anybody. He betrayed everybody. Every friendship he had, he betrayed. Even before. Even before. That's how Junior operated. He wasn't getting
Well,
an envelope from me. He tried. He wasn't getting no envelopes from me. So
now he always goes around and, a lot of people are questioning what is he even doing? Like,
he
is
puts
he
the
in it?
kid out to do all these fights. The kid's making money.
Because people are trying to figure out how's he surviving. Like, I know Vicky put up a,
John left a lot of money. Senior had a lot of money. More than everybody knows and more than I care to discuss. Father had a lot of money.
and he had a lot of those lots out in Jamaica Avenue, all these, the body shops over there
Well,
and everything.
that's his grandchildren, but that was owned by Carmine Agnello, his
Right, come on, right.
son-in-law. Carmine's a big earner. Even though John used to make him out to be an idiot, Carmine's not an idiot. Carmine's a smart guy.
Well, he's gone, obviously. He's in PA or whatever it is. He moved or whatever.
Cleveland.
Yeah, something like that. I know he's not in New York anymore.
No, he's making a lot of money. Carmine's a hustler. He's an earner.
But Carmine was never really involved in that world.
Of course
Or
he is,
was
a
he?
main guy. He had all the contracts on the Bell Parkway. Tow trucks.
But he lost them after, I think he lost all that
Yeah,
connections after, what?
he had shredding machines. He had garbage dumps. He had the junkyards. Carmine's good.
But was any of that because of his,
Of
being married
course,
to Vicky at the time?
100%.
Yeah, it was.
Of course.
Now, like I said, now that everything's over, it's been many years. Um, what is Lewis Kasman up to nowadays? I know you have that show, American Made, that maybe you can tell us more about it.
Yeah, well, I was doing the show with American Made, and I felt it was a time for a change. So now I'm working with Joe Barone from the Goodfellow podcast. I don't take any money. I don't monetize myself. That's not who I am. I'm good. I'm okay. John saw to that. And I'm just, I enjoy my family. I take care of my mother. My mother is not that well. And that's what I do. And there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think of John. You know, he was the father I never had. That was my father.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that he crashed at your house at one time.
All the time. All the time. I used to fall asleep on the couch. Me and my wife used to go in the guest room, and I used to put him in my room.
Now, people may hear this and say, wait a minute, why would he do that? He had his own house with his own wife. Why would
He
he
didn't
come to
want,
crash with yours?
he didn't want to go home.
Was there any particular reason you think that he didn't want to go home?
Um,
Or he was just avoiding something?
Not avoiding. I don't think he wasn't happy. Just leave it at that. He wasn't happy there. And that's why we used to go on vacations more and he'd come by me or we'd go out. We had I used to have a suite for him all the time at the Helmsley Palace. So, a lot of times he would crash there. Uh,
Let me ask you a question. With John Sr., do you think if he didn't go into this life, do you think he probably would have been a successful businessman?
well, did you ever think Obama would become president?
No.
Okay, so John was made for this life because when he was 12 years old, they had no money. His family's father never provided. He had to rob and steal. So the pattern just continued.
Right, that makes sense.
It'll be 100 years from now. They're going to still talk about in the mafia? John Gotti. Me and
Well,
you,
he was
me and you will be pushing up daisies, and they're going to still be talking about John Gotti.
well, he was definitely larger than life, that's for sure. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, now coming to like the end of the
And
show,
there'll never
pretty much.
and there'll never be another John Gotti.
Oh no, definitely not.
No.
The only guy I can think of that was somewhat like him, I think, even though a lot of people don't really like him very much. Um, I think Merlino was a little bit like him.
Nothing like him. Are you crazy? Not even close. Not even a pimple on his ass. Not even
That's funny.
close.
That's funny. But being this, you have so much rich stories. I mean, sure we can go on forever. I mean, so much stuff that you would talk about. Is there a book in behind Lewis Kasman's mind?
Anything's possible. But you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, I would be honored, but that'd be
All
great.
right.
Definitely.
I enjoyed the interview.
Me too.
Thank you. And we'll talk
No,
soon.
you got it. I thank you, Louis.
Okay. God bless.
You too, brother.